Cork's 96 FM.
Now, Willie, good morning.
Morning, PJ.
Now, it was Sarah posted on Facebook, but you're on here to tell us about your dad, was it?
Yeah, my Sarah. Yeah, Sarah's in contact with you. She passed in my name. Yeah, my dad, Willie Duffy Jnr. was in the Congo. As Larry mentioned, primarily they were based in Athlone. Mm-hmm. I suppose they were made up mainly of troops from all over the country. There was 2 from Cork. I don't know who they are. There was 1 from Dublin, but mostly the West, the Midlands, and the North. There was 8 from Donegal. Yeah, he joined up in November '58 at 19, and at the age of 22, he was heading off to the Congo.
Right. And was he in Jadotville when this all happened?
He was. He was a prisoner. He was a prisoner in Jadotville. I suppose I seen the movie the weekend. My sister and my mother went and they seen it in the cinema, so I've seen it the weekend myself. Yeah. But look, it finally puts it out there what these guys done. Like, I suppose, you spoke there about the Defence Force as a whole. I mean, from being out in the Med at the moment with the Navy to being in the Lebanon, they do a fantastic job. It was unfortunate. It's unfortunate the movie had to wait for a movie maybe to highlight it. Yeah. I still have the letters, that is, because I suppose looking at the movie, and I said to herself after seeing it, I said, back then the Congo had just got its independence from Belgium, and Katanga was a province in the Congo, and as Larry mentioned there, like rich in various minerals, and diamonds, gold, so the white man had a big influence there, and I suppose like in many countries they just get their independence. Civil war breaks out, and a lot of goings on in the world these days. And back then, and because there was a lot, I suppose, back then in the 60s, you had
when you were growing up, did your dad tell you about those few days and what happened, and did he give you any insight?
He was a quiet man. PJ, those who know it would say that. He spoke, I suppose, what he used to speak about. I suppose is that there was still a lot of poverty out there. Even back in '61, he'd seen a lot of poverty. Yeah. Those that had it and those that didn't have it. I suppose in terms of the battle itself, you'll see when you see the movie, there was a fighter jet came in. I remember he was telling me that the fighter jet used to come in the morning and back in the evening times when the sun was in their eyes, so they couldn't fire off rounds. He spoke about when he got off the plane in the Congo. The uniforms they were wearing really weren't fit for use. They were, I suppose, a lot of our equipment, I suppose, the Irish Army.
The old bull's wool and going into that African heat.
That's buttoned up to the neck, so they had to wait. As far as we were at the airport, there was a base at the airport for their jungle uniforms. And even when I seen the movie the weekend, and there was like television with Kennedy on talking, like my dad, he just came from just outside Derry in Donegal. And I mean, they showed people at the airport wishing the troops off. My dad had known because his parents were in Donegal. They didn't even have a car. There was no phones. I mean, if you think back how many people had phones back in 1961, very, very few. So the only communication that my grandma would have had with my dad would be letters. Yeah. I suppose poignant. I suppose the 2 letters I have, I suppose, that he kept himself and that his mother kept was from the Red Cross. I've got 2 letters. One saying that your son has been taken prisoner in Katanga in Jadotville, in action there, and the Red Cross have gone in and they have food and they have water and they're safe. And then 6 weeks later, she got the other letter saying that he was freed.
Did he ever talk about the time he was held captive?
He didn't, PJ, to be honest with you. The only talk he spoke about was about the fighter jet. He spoke about when they were held captive. I suppose the only thing he talked about is they feared for their lives. Yeah. They didn't. I think at the time, once he might have said to me about how they were thinking, like, if things are going to get messy here, are we going to get a plan to get out of here, you know what I mean? And in fairness, a lot...
They had no expectation that this was going to happen.
They had no expectations. I mean, he was 22, they were younger than there. Yeah. And great credit has to be taken from Pat Quinlan, like, you know. And
Quinlan was the man who led them. He was in his 40s at the time.
He was in his 40s at the time. I suppose he was a man that liked his history, and basically, as Larry, the base they were in was very open, and basically, I mean, from some of the old photographs I have, they basically dug themselves in. I mean, there is a Facebook page after being set up by a lot of friends and family. There's a lot of pictures of the siege of Jadotville, an awful lot of pictures, and there's pictures of my father and stuff up, like, and you'll see the trenches and stuff. And he spoke with the weaponry, I suppose, they had back then. Like, again, the weaponry was, I suppose, old British Army stuff.
Very basic stuff.
I suppose it was 1961. The state was only founded just over 45 years. Do you know what I mean? So we were obviously a young nation at the time, and as Larry pointed out, they wanted to make an impact in the UN to put us on the international map, but
that all went wrong. It was 2005 before they were recognised. Did your dad live to see that?
No, unfortunately, he passed away in 2002. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
He was a serviceman. I suppose when he came back from the Congo, he went home to Donegal, and at the time, I suppose in Donegal around the border areas, there was little or no work. And he went back to his unit, but he didn't want to stay with his unit. He wanted to go on into transport, and they wouldn't leave, and they wanted to stay with his unit. So he ended up coming down to Cork and joining the Naval Service, and in total done about 16 years service, and loved the Navy after that as well. You know, again, another tough career choice. But no, he only speak. A bit of the battle was about the jet coming in. That came in the morning and evenings when the sun was in their eyes, and basically it was not so much food, it was water and ammunition. Is the reason why they gave up, because
did you as you watched the film, did you feel pride for him in your heart?
Oh, I've always been very proud of him, because as I say, he loved both Army and the Navy, and I mean the guys that are there today serving around the world, they do a fantastic job. But I've always been very proud of him, you know what I mean? And as I say, he never. I mean, Larry mentioned there about the radio slag. I used to remember, because he was big into. He used to love going to Cove Ramblers for his pint, and I used to remember going in after 12 o'clock mass on a Sunday, and with the odd time he'd get a bit of a slag. I mean, there's a bit of banter going, do you know what I mean? And the slagging up. You're the ones that surrendered, do you know what I mean? But there was a big political picture going on there at the time. The Cold War was on. The Russians were trying to carve out parts of the world, the democracies and communism, you know?
The general feeling I get from people messaging is that Conor Cruise O'Brien made a balls of the whole thing.
I think that the film kind of makes that out to be Conor Cruise O'Brien. I mean, I can't say that. Maybe it did. Like, I don't want to judge the man, because I know later on in life he came to be, he was an academic man and stuff like that. But that's what the film made out. But as I say, I think the UN maybe used him to go in there. I do remember my father saying, like, there was a lot of other UN troops. I mean, they tried to be relieved. I mean, the UN back then was made up a lot of the smaller nations, because the likes of Britain, America, Russia, the Cold War was going on, so they weren't actively involved in the UN. With the smaller nations like India, there was a lot of Indians there, there was Italians there, he was telling me. But they didn't have the equipment. I mean, the helicopter did come in. Now, the helicopter comes in the film to take away a wounded, but the helicopter that came in tried to bring in water. Water was brought in jerry cans. Sure, it was totally contaminated when it was brought in jerry cans.
Yeah, there's an account, I'm reading an account that when it came in, the jerry cans had previously been used for petrol and hadn't even been washed out.
That's it, like, so,
Yuck.
You know what I mean? So,
Yuck.
Exactly.
Listen, he was a brave man, and you tell his story well, Willie. Yeah. And thank you for talking to me this morning.
Exactly. It's just a pity it's taken a film to highlight it. You know what I mean? Just you know.
Well, I'm certainly my history is being filled in for me, and I'm dying to see the movie now. Thanks, Willie.